Yo, why you Simon?
And we are live.
Yes,
Sound
sir.
Minds.
Sound minds, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again on a Sunday, 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
Um, very important show. Again, this is
very.
if you don't know, this is part two of a series in regards to preserving royalty. We have some amazing guests. Um, we have La Bruja and we have Jessica Lynn Rivera, who are both in their own stages,
Hey,
amazing women who are here to speak with us about what a king looks like in the eyes of a queen, and especially with everything going on, it is of the utmost importance for us to keep that good positive energy that we always talk about. Positive energy always causes elevation. Ladies, we are more than delighted, amazed, and awe, and just for the most part, fanned out by both of you. And we thank you for being here. Jessica Lynn, who is an amazing speaker in her own right, has a tremendous following just based off of what she does on a morning basis. She's just out there always giving this positive vibe and energy. And she's, about to get her doctorates, a mother of a beautiful baby girl. She's doing a lot of big things,
Yeah.
and she's doing it on the shoulders of her own. And we're gonna let her introduce herself. And La Bruja is spoken word artist, hip hop artist, first female to do a lot of things, actress, advocate, La Bruja. You know what I mean? So,
Introduction in
and she's
itself.
aging backwards.
yes, yes, she
Stay
got the
tuned for
Benjamin Button.
stay tuned for the special spells on how to age backwards. At the end,
You can't give those secrets up. Nah, that's not gonna be given up at all.
That's a whole other podcast. That's a whole.
Right. So, ladies, if you would give your proper introduction of who you are, what you've done, and I mean, for the most part, the reason why you've been asked to be on here is because of the amazing resumes that both of you carry and the amazing energies that both of you have. So, by all means, the stage is yours.
All right. Who's gonna go? Go ahead, Jess.
You go, my love. No, you go, my love. You lead it off. Lead the way.
Right. Well, I am a Puerto Rican, New Yorican, born and raised in the Boogie Down Bronx. I'm still. I feel like the queen of New York. I'm not gonna play. I've been doing
Hey, girl. Hey, girl.
so much for so long. I started at the New Yorican Poets Cafe in 1996 on an open mic with Bobito Garcia hosting, and now I tutor his kid Langston to write poetry. I work with so many people to find their voice and to express themselves poetically. But personally, I've done one-woman shows, musicals on Broadway, off Broadway. I've been in films, worked with Spike Lee, Ava DuVernay. I met Oprah. I got albums, only 2 that I actually released on Spotify and Apple Music. That's Brujalicious and For Which It Stands, both independently.
Introduce Prince Royce's album for those who don't know. She ain't gonna say everything, so let me just say there's no listening to Prince Royce without her intro on his album. Go back and listen.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that was, even me. And I mean, the poem is kind of deep, so if you're just there to shake your booty to the rhythm, you probably won't listen to it. But that was an introduction to his album. I used all the titles of his songs and put it in there and incorporated what, he told me about his coming up in the Boogie Down Bronx as a Dominican. But I'm a mom and I've worked with my kids and they've performed with me. I mean, I did Boogie Rican Boulevard. That was my one-woman show that I turned into a full-blown musical. And my son did the sound cues at 11.
Wow.
And my daughter was next to me at 9. And while I played 7 people, at one point my daughter was my grandchild, my daughter, my niece, my neighbor. And, that was a very intense endeavor. But, following the footsteps of like a Whoopi Goldberg and John Leguizamo, who I eventually got to work with too and develop his new musical, Kiss My Aztec. I've done a lot of amazing things, did a song with Be Real called Fuego. That shit was Fuego. And now, we talk to each other in chat. And
Cypress Hill.
Lots of just artistic and activism. It's like arts and activism, artivism.
Nice. I like the reference.
What's some of your latest activisms? Because for people that don't know, like that's something that's one of the reasons everyone we've had on the show, y'all tell me if I'm lying. Everyone we had on the show is a dope artist, educator, and in activism in some way. And I think people wouldn't automatically know that about you because like people just see, the music and the poetry and stuff like that. And when we're doing our poetry, we be so much in our activism, we be so much in the zone, we don't really promote that part. What's some of the recent things that you would say that you were proud of the women you were working with or the people you was working with?
I mean, if you look up Puerto Rican activist, I think I'm one of the first people that pops up. I have been fighting for the liberation of Puerto Rico since I began, and doing my poetry in '96 publicly. Helped get the Marina out of Vieques. We protested for that. And more recently, of course, with Black Lives Matter and protesting for that cause, and getting people to be wide awake. And
that's right.
You're the fourth. You're the fourth person in line.
Okay.
I mean, the people beyond you, before you, are obviously legends in their own right that has come before your time, and it's like you follow the footsteps of these great women, that came before you, being a Puerto Rican activist. Yes, so you come in number 4.
I don't play. I never have played games. I could be silly and I make jokes and I have a great sense of humor, but there's some things that I take extremely seriously. And
but see, that's a perfect example why I asked you, because even that, you notice she didn't say an organization or something like that. When you really into activism, it's not about I was at this protest or that organization, because there's so many things people call on you for. You feel me? So that's the answer you get from someone that's immersed in activism. It's not about this date or that organization. It's a lifestyle, baby.
It's a lifestyle.
Absolutely. And even calling myself La Bruja was a political feminist decision. Nobody was calling themselves Brujas. Nobody was out here claiming their divine divinity, their feminine divinity. And now Brujas everywhere, and I feel really proud about that. I felt like I opened the door for women.
Imagine you could call yourself some nonsense, and now you have been looking at all these sisters calling themselves some nonsense. Actually, don't imagine that. Let's move on.
So, but let's
to the show, everybody.
SoundMinds.
Delicious. New York.
Oh my goodness. So, hey guys, so I'm Jessica Lynn Rivera, but everybody calls me Jess. I am 36, soon to be 37. I am also Puerto Rican from the Bronx, raised in the Bronx, literally right by Yankee Stadium, 164th and Girard, representing. I am a mom. I have a soon to be 8-year-old. She'll be 8 literally in about maybe 5 hours. And I have always worked in a field of medicine / finance. I'm actually finalizing my doctorate in finance. I just have to complete my dissertation. And actually, I've battled anxiety and depression since the age of 12 and depression since the age of 18. And one thing that I've realized with that struggle is that there are so many, especially Latinos and minorities in general, that have always been told these are things that you have to keep to yourself. There's a stigma that's associated with having these, these mental disorders and just feeling like there's nowhere that you can turn. And, you kind of just keep it to yourself for so long. And it actually just weighs heavily on your body, on your mind, on your spirit. And one day I just woke up and I just started using Instagram as a platform, just to speak about the things that I've endured, the things that I've gone through, to show other people, regardless of anything, you are not defined by the things that you go through. You use those things, you go through those things, you overcome those things, and you become better because of those things. And I feel like by letting other people know, like, hey, I've been through it, I've done it, but guess what? I've also done this, to let you know that that is not going to be a stigma for you. That is not going to be a barricade for you. That is not going to keep you sheltered into this one mindset of, okay, well, I'm not my anxiety. I'm not my depression. It is something that I go through. It's something that I still battle to this day, but it is not the definition of who I am. And I think a lot of people have that mindset that when you have these issues and you deal with these things, that it is the definition of who you are and you can't overcome it. And I'm not going to sit here and say that in any way, shape, or form will I be cured of it, or will I wake up one day and everything will feel great. I still have my ups and downs. But at the same time, especially in the climate that we're in now, between this pandemic and especially with the Black Lives Matter movement, you have to understand that waking up every day is a blessing. Coming home to your family is a blessing. Kissing my daughter every day is a blessing.
It sounds kind of like you are offering some of that as you going through your own journey. You started, part of your healing was you started speaking to other sisters out there that was going through, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
So you almost became part of not the solution, but you became part of not being a
victim of my circumstance, because it's very easy to fall into that.
I like the fact that you're saying that you're showing it. You're not afraid to show it. See, like we go through things and you say, all right, at this period of time in my life, man, I'm just not gonna put myself out there like that. You're afraid to do that. You have that shutdown moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel you're speaking empowerment to that, meaning to help people come out of that. And trust me, I have experiences with that, so I'm relating. I'm listening.
Yeah, and I think, thank you. And I think the problem, well, not the problem, but I think what has happened is social media has become an outlet for so many. But in so many ways, if you look at it past, like maybe the past couple of years, every time you would see things on social media, it was like this positive image, like, oh yeah, I'm out with my friends and I'm making money and I'm doing this, and that's great. That doesn't take away from that. If you're doing that, big ups, props, and everything. But that's not your life on a day to day. You can't tell me you wake up every single day and you are a happy person. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. Everybody wakes up one day where they are not feeling their best, and it is okay to say, I'm not great today, but I will be tomorrow. And even if I'm not tomorrow, it'll happen.
I find like some of my happiest moments are the moments when I wasn't doing my best and I overcame it. Is that like common, or is that
it is?
Are most people that are happy just happy because they're happy? Because I'm usually happy because like I got a challenge, I wasn't happy, and I was like, okay, I got through that, and I could maybe show somebody else that they could get through it.
No, I think you're right, because I feel like, up until I became very open about what I've gone through, I felt like, there was this facade. So you always feel happy. You're giving that presentation of yourself. But then when you finally sit there and say, I'm not doing great today, but I got to figure out a way to get through it, and you do get through it, you're like, yo, damn, I'm a bad bitch. Like, I did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's something that people don't realize. There's so much power in weakness. I say that all the time. There is so much power in weakness, because the moment you overcome something, that's something that you could say will never, ever take you down again.
Immediately.
It's really there's strength and vulnerability. That's what I say with the poetry, with the open mics, because people come on open mics, and I still host them on Thursday nights at the New Weekend, and people, we cry together, we get deep, and that's why I was asking you when we were talking before about why you would want to go back to your 20s. Like personally for me, my 20s was very difficult. I attempted suicide at that age, and I was in a very dark place because of patriarchy and, sexual abuse and all kinds of things that we deal with as women. And at the time, I hadn't found that poetry would be that thing, so if I had succeeded in killing myself, like, I had attempted suicide at that age, and I was like in a psych ward with like people that were really mentally ill, and I just had to convince the doctor that I was no longer suicidal in order to be released. And that changed my life. I think had I been successful at killing myself. I never would have become La Bruja. I never would have created this art. And this art is what saved my life. And that is why I still teach it. That's why I still create these safe spaces for people to express themselves. And I say that those things, they didn't happen to me. You know, they happened for me. So that I could.
And they happen through you. You know, and that's also another important thing to say. It happened through you. And when I say I would like to go back to my 20s, it would be with the knowledge that I have now, because I feel like there's such an empowerment that I have in myself now, being 36 and being a mom, that if I would have had that in my 20s, you know, I feel like it could have done a lot of good, because there's a lot that I didn't understand about myself when I was 20. And I'm grateful that I can share that now with people that are in their 20s, maybe to help them avoid some of the things that I've gone through. You know what I mean? Because I feel like you don't know at that time what you know now. But now that you know it, share it with someone else so that they can move forward and avoid some of the things that we went through. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I say. Like,
definitely. So, and I think for the most part, I think so go ahead, Kyle, you was gonna say something?
Well, I'm just saying, as we cap in the intro, right? As we cap in the intro, you can see our sisters already displaying how they queens and everything. And I'm glad what y'all was just saying is a segue. Light's gonna point it into the introduction to the topic, but it's a beautiful segue, because really, if people knew that after 20 they would be looking like y'all, and I don't just mean physically, I mean in every way, looking like y'all in the way you can talk to your experience, you can remember, you can lead other women. You can't have led that many women when you 10, 17, 20. You know what I mean? Y'all are leaders of women. Y'all have seen ups and downs in yourself and others, to the point where somebody's struggling, you can say, hey sister, look, boom bam beam beam bam bam beam boom beam bam 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 bam. You know what I mean? You can't get past beam boom bam at 17. You know what I mean?
Beam boom bam. That's gonna be the new one.
Beam boom bam. You feel me?
So I just, before you kill somebody, write a poem. That's one for sure. Before you write a poem, modalities.
We really needed we needed queens to be on this episode. Light's about to tell everybody why, but I feel like y'all are displaying that, and it's something that we didn't even think about preparing for this, but now that y'all saying it, this is why it's so powerful to have queens with a platform, because even as guys, it's so many of us that feel like life is over at 18 or something, when in reality, you get to build with queens and kings once you pass 20, and once you pass 30, and once you pass 40. And it's like, it's a beautiful thing. And then once you learn about health, you like, for me, I speak for myself, I'm healthier than I ever been. You know what I mean? I'm healthier than I ever been.
Absolutely.
So if we don't need to, one of the things in the LES, why some of us had that suicidal tendency, not to put a damper, but since we already going that direction, because we was already told, Light, tell me if I'm lying, we was already told we was going to be dead at 18. Had I known and seen people at 30, 40, 50, 60 that was just still having fun, still intelligent, sharing knowledge, I might not have felt like my life had no further to go anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So I think for the most part, I think so. So there's a couple of things. As you guys are giving your introductions, one of the things that stands out is the empowerment in which you can speak from. You know what I mean? Just based off of experience and being able to kind of, for the most part, speak from a standpoint of saying, nah, yeah, I was at a weak point. You know what I mean? And I think one of the things, especially with the topic at hand, right? We are currently under a lot of pressures. You know what I'm saying? And listen, Friday got the horrible news, you know what I mean, of Chadwick Boseman, and rest in peace to him. And I had to then sit and explain to my daughters why a man that was seen as a king is taken from us, right? Or is no longer here, and which I'm also going to get into. And then Saturday got a phone call on some, yo, did you hear? And I'm like, yeah, man, nah, it's crazy. But it wasn't about Chadwick Boseman. It was even worse news about one of my old students who is part of Building Better Men. This Building Better Men is something that I ran for many years. And my young brother got you know, he got caught up in a situation. I'm not even going to mention names. All the situations is based off of the fact that I haven't spoke to the parents to even pardon myself for that. But it leads into, so I will say, young brother, I need you to pull through, right? My prayers are with you, and we all got you. At the same time, then we talk about this topic, right? This topic is about how a king is seen in the eyes of a queen. And it's amazing that I bring up Chadwick Boseman and I bring up my little brother based off of the fact that when you speak about what a king should look like, a lot of what goes into that thought process too, which we don't even necessarily consciously understand, is how many of our kings are even here to even speak upon. And Bruja, I seen your video. Jessica, I seen your video. When we speak about Chadwick Boseman, now granted, I'm not one to kind of feel like, you know, celebrity is celebrity, and I'm one of those to sit there and say, well, listen, man, God bless his family, and you know, but you speak about a man who purposely chose roles to empower his people. So it's not only about Black Panther. You talk about, you know, the Jackie Robinson story. You talk about so many other stories. James Brown, right?
You know, like
Marshall, that, you know, and then so it's hard. My daughters, when I told my daughters, I was actually in the middle of something else. They were playing my track, and we were speaking about my track, and then all of a sudden, I seen this posted up, and I was like, nah. I got touched by the fact that when you say, what does a king look like? Then you start really questioning, damn, how many kings are still alive or around, right? And when I seen you two beautiful, talented queens sit there and make videos about this king no longer here, it touched me in the sense of we need to do better. So for the most part, we cannot just continue to have a Chadwick Boseman and feel like, damn, there can't be somebody else to replace him. You know what I mean? Because there's so many queens. When I listen to your story right now, your introductions, knowing what I know about you already, but then also knowing this part that you have spoken on so openly and so strongly, this is why we had the need to put this topic out there. This is why this is a 2-part series. We never did this before because we felt like it's only right that we spoke about what a queen looks like and how a queen should be respected, that we bring 2 empowering, amazing queens to speak about what a king should look like. In the light of losing and going through the tragedies that we are going through. So I want to say again, thank y'all for being here. Thank you for the time that you've given us. Let's build on this.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us.
It's sad to think that our kings are killed, you know, or that they die. And you're right, you know, like how many symbols do we have? How many of those people do we have? You know, this country destroys them. This world destroys Black kings. You know, Nipsey. Somehow, some way, our Black kings are destroyed. And I wonder sometimes if that's what stops men from, you know,
stepping up,
subconsciously stepping up, right? You know, because I mean, even as an activist, my family was like, girl, you know, en español, mira, I don't want to see you doing that. No, well, you know, and because they were afraid for me. They were afraid because revolutionaries get killed.
My queen did the same exact thing a few years ago. And when I released my song Agenda 21, and, you know, and I was going to go hard on really exposing things. You know, I was deep passionate about exposing things. And once again, we're losing leaders that we look up to at the same time in that aspect. And it's like, yo, hold up. Wait, I ain't trying to lose you. So you need to slow down. Like, I need you here.
It's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. It's like, right. The reality is it's scary because you want to be outspoken. You want to shed light on things because things have been kept in the dark for so long. And honestly, the longer we keep it in the dark, the less we are educating ourselves on how to be better. Because, you know, there are, even in the Latino community, and I say it as a Puerto Rican, we even contribute to a lot of different aspects of racism, even within our own culture. You know, I was raised up, not even raised, it wasn't like my immediate family, but I grew up with this notion that having curly hair was the worst thing ever. So I was one that was in the salon every Saturday getting this hair blown out because that was a representation of being a Latina, having this straight hair. And it wasn't until I was diagnosed with anemia that I had to cut all my hair off. And then I realized the beauty in what my hair represents. My beauty represents my Taino roots, my African roots, you know, my European roots. And there's no reason why I need to deny that. But the problem is, people don't want to speak on things because you don't know how that's going to impact your life. I don't want to be a voice and an advocate for something, but then not come home to my family. You know, and that's the scary part about it. Where do you find that middle ground? Where do you sit there and say, I want to voice my truth. I want to voice our truth, but I want to come home to my daughter at night. I want to come home to my family. And I think that's why people don't speak.
This is bringing me to my first question, right? I feel like now there's not going to be a couple things. It's going to be everything I say is going to be ignorant. Okay. And I know that it's going to be dumb for lack of this type of mentoring of women. Okay. In public, in front of other men, lack of this discussion. So everything I say tonight is going to be ignorant. Let me just say that. And this is the first one. I want to hear y'all wisdom on this. I feel in my visceral body, there's certain times where I need to stand up, and I know the women around me, I have to first make sure I can't be so quick to stand up that I'm putting them in danger. That's what I feel. I understand there's certain misogynistic undercurrents to that feeling. So I'm just giving you a raw feeling, and then I'm gonna get to the question. I feel there's certain times where I gotta stand up as a man, per se, right? And one thing I need to do is make sure that I'm not standing up in a way where I'm gonna stand up and then move out the way and women are gonna get hit. Like if I'm gonna stand up, I'm standing there like I'm ready for whatever's coming verbally or physically. But also there are times where I know the women around me are gonna be like, bro, please, or dad, please, or husband, please, or brother, please. Whatever their relationship is, they're gonna say, yo, chill out, bro, chill. Like, you gonna get hurt. Don't do that. This is my question. And I swear to you, I actually still have this question every time to this day, and more now in the midst of what's happening. I feel like it's my role to let my women know I understand, I'm being safe, I'm not going to leave you alone, but I need to go forward, because I feel like there's a certain point where, and this is where we get into roles and what roles is good to have and what roles is misogynistic to have, right? So I'm just asking, I feel like it is my role to hear the women telling me to stop, but still gauge and sometimes be like, I need to do this so that y'all ain't feeling like you're alone in doing this. Because on one hand, you want me to be safe, but on the other hand, you want to have a king there to be on the front line.
Defend you.
Right? I mean, it's kind of complex, ain't it?
It is.
We both were like, yeah, it is.
But it's a matter of choosing your battles and how to fight.
Absolutely.
You know, as a mother, like I would think about, in protests, I was like, I have 2 babies at home. Like I was like, I can't get arrested. I have to find another way to fight. So I would write poetry about it. Like Def Poetry Jam, perfect example. I did WTC. That was right after 9/11 had happened. And I had my own conspiracy theories and have watched mad movies like Zeitgeist and, all these things that, why weren't any other politicians that day? And, all of that. I worked in World Trade Center. I'm in a documentary called Hip Hop Hope about the effects of 9/11 on hip hop. I chose to use Def Poetry Jam as a platform to say WTC, to say that poem. And it was not what they wanted, but I did it anyway. So that was my way of protest, still, you know, where I wasn't going to get arrested. I didn't get invited back on the show, but I didn't get arrested.
You were hurt, and that was it. You were hurt, and you were safe.
And how to fight, you know, and especially when you have children, you have to really think. Like, that was one of the reasons that I actually got mad when Cardi B was fighting when she had just had a baby, and then she went after Nicki Minaj. And I was just like, girl, you got a baby at home. Why
are you a mom now, girl? Cut that
out. You're fucked up in the streets, and then you can't come home to your baby. You got to think, you know, you really, it's after you become a parent, that's on some whole, now you're living for somebody else.
Yeah, like you become second at that point. Your children become first. And, you know, La Bruja is right. You have to pick and choose your battles. But on top of picking and choosing your battles, you know, sometimes it's just a matter of, is it worth it? Like, what was said? What was it that was so disrespectful? Or, you know, I feel like sometimes words are going to be said. Words are going to be said. They're going to be thrown. Listen, it is what it is. But it is not worth getting arrested, being caught in a situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, these days, especially in the climate that we're in now, like, think about Jacob Blake at this point. The man broke up a fight that had nothing to do with him and was walking back to his car, to his kids, and got shot in the back. So think about it. In a situation where you're trying to be the bigger person and stop someone who probably had that same mindset that you did right now, like, you know, am I supposed to kind of stop myself at this moment? And they went and acted on it, and he tried to come in and be like, hold on, time out. Now he's paying the price with this. Now he's paralyzed. You know, now he's handcuffed to a hospital bed because of that decision that he made. So in situations like that, I always sit there, especially now more than ever, you know, because now I see the racial profiling when I walk down the street, you know, or a cop looks at me and says something, and I walk with my daughter who's fair skinned, okay, because my daughter is very light. She's like light skin, okay, and we walk down the street and I'm the nanny. Oh, like, who's that child's parent? You know, you have to be mindful. Don't put yourself in a situation that you are not going to come home to those that you love. Do not become another statistic because somebody says something out of their face that is not worth it. You are still a man, even if you got to walk away. Because honestly, being a man is being big enough to walk away from a situation than engage in a situation.
Well, that was gonna be my follow-up question to this specifically, because when you're talking about those situations where a man has to make a decision, all right, we got to make that decision. In the context of toxic masculinity or things of that nature, would it be wrong to not listen to you now at that point in time and say, no, I gotta handle this, I gotta shut these people down, they threat, whatever the case may be, even though you have now spoken to say, no, you gotta calm down, it might not be worth it, it's not worth it, whatever. Now you bring that logic to my mind for me to understand why I need to calm down. Like, this is similar to what Tariq Green is talking about, of staying connected to her heart, you know, in her heart and her head. You know what I'm saying? So is that wrong if we're doing that, even if that's a part of us acting in our kingship?
She's like, that's a loaded question.
Intuition too. And I mean, I know there is a oh my God, and her name escapes me, she was a Peruvian queen. She was guiding her husband along the way, and there was this one time that she was just like, do not go, and he did, and then the whole shit collapsed. That was it for the kingdom.
That's done. Right? There we go.
Testosterone is a motherfucker. Look at a male elephant in Musk, and you will see how strong. Like, it's just like innate to fight and to, you know, and it's very hard to check yourself.
Okay, so let me ask you this. See, this is now we getting real. SoundMinds. Okay, thank y'all for being here. I knew y'all was gonna get real with us. All right, and brothers need to hear this too. Yo, have you ever felt the feeling of testosterone in the air? Like when we be going around hanging with our brothers, going through our life, and then we feel a sense of estrogen in the air, it charges us up. Have you ever said, no, don't do that, that's dangerous to a dude, but he did it anyway, but you felt like, that felt good to know it was some testosterone here. If he didn't get killed and get you in trouble, I'm saying that with that caveat. If he didn't, have you ever? And I see you kind of smiling. I see just like my daughter's watching this. Let me think about this. Have you ever told a dude, chill out, be careful, and he was like, nah, I gotta do this, babe, and you was like, that felt kind of good. I'm glad he knew I didn't push him, so I knew it was on his own accord, but it felt good. I smelled the testosterone. Yes or no?
Good follow-up.
No, it never happened for me. How about you, Jess?
In my 20s, okay, that there was a thing with that, okay? In my 20s, there was a thing with that. You get excited when, yeah, that's my man. He got my back, da 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 da. And now I'm just like, yo, slow your roll. It's not that serious. It's not that deep. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to sit there and think about, I could have been the voice of reason that night, as opposed to egging you on and allowing you to feel like men are going to do what they're going to do anyway. As much as you want to stop them, I am not that chick to go and be standing between two men trying to break up a fight. Absolutely not. Like, I'm just not doing it. But I will try to stop you before you get to that point, because it's not worth it. Nothing is worth putting yourself at risk for a word, a push, a shove. It is what it is. You know, if it's not something that calls you to be physical, be the bigger person. I don't think it takes anything away from a man to sit there and be like, I'm walking away because I just don't want to engage, because I have something better to go home to. You know what I'm saying? And even if you going home by yourself, at least you going home crawling in your bed and waking up in the morning. You know, as opposed to waking up in a hospital bed or in a jail cell or something. It's not worth it.
So
I think, you know, every situation though is unique.
Absolutely.
I would say that every situation is unique, so it has to just be measured in the moment.
Absolutely.
The other thing I will say is that women have testosterone too.
Facts.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, I've been the one that is there ready to fight.
I'm like, yo, the 20s,
right?
My 20s.
Know, like, it's crazy. You know, like, we have that shit too.
So I got a quick question. With
Micaela.
Yes.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. He So David Heredia does Heroes of Colors. He does his little thing. He's gonna be on the show. And the show is called Artivism. So, which is funny that you said that. So we're gonna definitely bring that in. But he definitely does his history in regards to. And I'm Peruvian. I'm half Peruvian. I'm upset that the name didn't hit me quicker. But
get on it.
Yeah. I feel like I failed my nation. With all this going on. Okay. So there's a very interesting question. I would love for you guys to watch the video, but I'm pretty sure you're very very much know what the video is. It's Kunta Kinte getting whipped, and they trying to get him to say Toby. The scene is very powerful. They have it's one European surrounded by a whole bunch of Africans, and he has one African man whipping Kunta until he says Toby. There's a woman there that's watching him, and she can't really endure or bear the fact that she's watching this. But then when he breaks and says Toby, you see her heart. And when I say this, you guys can watch it on your own. You see her heart kind of like, damn, you let us down.
The energy shift.
Yeah, the energy just kind of like went from, damn, I can't believe you taking this, to, yo, you not my king kind of now.
Like you took it, like you didn't take it for the team, like you were supposed to, for the lack of a better word.
Well,
yeah. So
those messages though were put out in a way, I think, also to help propagate how they wanted, to break the black spirit. So
of course,
which starts a generation of things of habits that create some of the dysfunctions that we have today, that we see today.
Right.
And Jess spoke about that.
Generational toxicity we spoke about last week.
You spoke about that last week on your recap video.
And that's what I was going to get into.
Toxicity.
Exactly. So, and that's where I was going to go with that. So in regards to when you have a man, right, or you have a king or a man who's in your life and they're doing everything that they possibly could to be there for you, right? But then you have, and I guess my question to you is, you as queens, do you notice, do you acknowledge the fact that there's definitely this systemic attack on kings? So it's either we're killing you and taking you out your household, right? We're locking you up and we're taking you out your household. We're emasculating and we're taking it out the household. Like, so do you kind of, in a sense, feel like there's a target on men, especially of men of color who are head of households? And when I say head of household, that's not necessarily a testosterone thing, or it's not necessarily who pays the bills. It's more so the protection of the family is being taken out one way or another by various categories. Do you feel like there's any type of systemic attack on men?
Absolutely. Like, absolutely. Our men they're under attack. Like, toxic masculinity, patriarchy is we in the air we breathe, like, as women. But our men are taught that it's not masculine to have a woman leader. It's not masculine to cry. It's not masculine to be monogamous. It's not, it's ingrained in you from very, very young. I feel like I have lost more respect for the men in my life when I faced either inappropriate, the whole Me Too movement, shit that caused the Me Too movement. I was, the man told me to stay quiet. I'm a married woman, and I go into this industry and I get groped or I get touched or, some fucked up shit happens, and I confide in my king that this happened to me. And he told me not to tell anybody. There is where, to me,
respect
king.
Right.
And my father too. I stepped to my father.
That's the weakness part that's the weakness.
Where I had to step up and defend myself and go through all of that, the post-traumatic stress disorders and the fucking shit and the anxiety and the whole, and still build myself up and still feel complete and still feel innocent and still feel beautiful and not like,
and also not feel like it was something that you did to provoke those actions, because that's another thing. That's another thing. They treat you like, well, you did that. Wore this. You look like this. You gave me the eye. You giggled when you weren't supposed to. All of those things are put out there to make it seem like this is what we invited you to do.
It's that right there. That's not a king.
Absolutely not.
Right. So I'm glad you said that.
HBO Max just put out.
I'm glad you said that too, just based off of the fact. Kyle, hold on a second, Kyle. My fault. So, Jessica and La Bruja, I'm glad y'all said that, and I should have premised this before that. And like I said, my brain is on other lengths right now, wavelengths. Let's make it very clear. Genitalia, lack of having breasts, playing sports, being able to beat somebody of a weaker stature in a wrestling match or whatever it is, that does not make you a man. And I'm glad that you said that, Bruja, because truth of the matter is, too many people feel like, oh, I'm a man, I'm a king, because this is, you're just a male who just happens to have certain things that kings do. It's the same thing that I was saying last week. Yeah, physical, physical attributes doesn't necessarily necessitate you or put you in the level of being a man even. So let's not even talk about.
Oh, God.
Yo, that was super ironic. I'm sorry to make a light of this.
Because when you're talking about kings, you're talking on a whole different level.
Yo, like your stream just
Yeah.
broke, but it was on the phrase "let's not even talk," and your hand was like this, and it just froze. You said "let's not even talk." I was
Yeah,
out. Go ahead, go ahead,
so
go ahead.
so for the most part, what I'm saying is let's be very clear that being a male does not make you a man. Being a man does not make you a king. And for somebody to do that, and Bruja, please.
Around, there's all these men that have procreated, but they're not fathers. They're not men.
And it's true. You know, I was raised in a single parent household. You know, my dad wasn't there. And even though my daughter's father and I are not together, he is an amazing father. You know what I mean? So it's like two different spectrums of men. You know, my father was an absentee father, and my daughter's father, you know, is 100% committed. We were literally at her birthday party yesterday, just doing the thing as co-parents. But you know what I'm saying? You see the dynamic and how different it is. And it's just like there's so many different ways that you can't categorize a man, because there are so many different levels and different elements that comprise that, you know, a man is composed of. But a lot of it is what we learn. You know, a lot of men will sit there and say, right, a man is different from a king. You know, and I think that is important to point out, because people were like, well, a man will sit there and be like, well, don't disrespect me because I'm a man. And I'm like, well, what did you do to make you a man? Like, what have you done that makes you a man? And I get a lot of slack for that, because again, being raised by a single mom, raising two women, you know, has taught us to be self-sufficient, independent, you know, and I will love you deep and I will love you hard. But the one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to allow you to think that just because you got a penis and two balls swinging around that you gonna come in and you gonna run something. Like, at the end of the day, you a man. Show me what makes you a man. Don't just say you're a man, because I could sit there and be like, well, I'm a female, so I guess, you know, I should stay home and, you know, you pay for, you know, whatever. No, but that's not what
I
it
got
is.
the SoundMinds gem just bing. They go, it's a hailstorm. Bing, bing, bing. Y'all catching these gems? I just want to put a cap on three things. One is that, you know, I asked a difficult question a couple minutes back, and both of the sisters was really saying, yes, sometimes women do say one thing and want men to do another, but there's different stages to womanhood and to manhood, and you're not necessarily a queen, although we see you as a queen in the making, just like we strive to be kings in the making. And maybe if you like, well, this girl said this and she like this, well, then you're basing your actions of your masculine energy off of an immature woman. And when you're ready to evolve as a man and a king, you have to then readjust and say, are you going to keep telling me that you're doing things based on immature women? Because just like there are immature men, there are immature women. And I think what both these sisters beautifully said as queens is, once we beyond that level and we're actually trying to build community and respect ourselves and be with people to respect themselves, if we say stop, that usually go with that woman's intuition and chill out, bro. You know, if the woman isn't in physical danger and you're not, just chill out, bro. Don't be like, well, women really want this, and then maybe that was an immature woman who wanted that at one point, just like you're still an immature man. She wants that attention, and she needs to be shown she could get different attention. And you need to show that you have higher expectations of women, where you're not sticking to this idea of that woman said this in the third grade or whatever. You know, listen to some queens.
Any woman trying to shame you for not stepping up and fighting or doing some ignorant shit is not the woman for you.
Right.
That's immature. That's immature.
And another thing you have to think about, when I was talking, you know, when you guys had mentioned it last week on the podcast, and then I spoke about it on my Insta story, just generational toxicity, that also flows into a woman's perspective, because just like you're raised in a household where you're told a man shouldn't show emotions, they have to be strong, they have to be the leader, there are women in that household hearing the same exact thing. So they, in their minds, have now had this belief ingrained. Oh, well, this is the man. This is how my man has to be. He has to be strong. He can't be weak. And that's why some women just can't accept the fact that they have a man that is sensitive. I like a sensitive man. We could hug, we could cuddle. It's okay.
Thank you for bringing it into the next topic as we go a little bit deeper. You just threw the alley-oop. You know what I mean? And you know, this let's take it there. Let's really take it there.
Let's go.
Masculine and feminine energy. We, as a male and as a female, we both carry that energy. Now let's hear it from your perspective of what does a king look like that has the masculine and feminine energy, and a queen at the same time that may have more masculine or more feminine. So let's speak about it on an energy standpoint. Because you said you like a sensitive man.
Balance.
Yes. It's balance.
It's balance. So
it's balance.
All right. And then
there we go.
There's also shadow work, you know, like are the things that we deem unlovable about ourselves that society brains in you from very, very young. Both of you have to do that shadow work. Sometimes it's different for each person.
Absolutely.
But you have to do it. You know, some men are molested too, raped too.
And they won't speak about it because they will be laughed at.
They hold on to it.
They don't laugh. Oh, I'm gonna
in unhealthy ways. Like, so both of you have to go into your trauma. It's all in trauma. All of the psychosis that comes after it, the behavior is because of the shadow work not being done, and loving yourself unconditionally despite those things. Is, you know,
that's what brings the balance. Is that what brings that's the work you're talking about, the steps in putting in the work, internal work to bring forth the balance between that masculine and feminine energy in you.
Absolutely. I think what, you know, La Bruja is like, I don't know, like I've seen her, you know, she doesn't know who I am, but I've seen her, but her and I are on the same wavelength today, because it is so true. There are so many things about balance. The same way, you know, men go through trauma, and because of the fact of the stigmas that are associated, they hide it. So you're hiding it, and there's this suppression, and there's this anger, and there's this rage that fills up. And then at this point, that suppression now becomes a level of distrust. So now you can't go into a relationship and treat a queen the way she should be treated, because as a king, you don't know how to treat yourself. You understand what I'm saying?
And speaking of your shadow into the light, you said something completely wrong, Star. You are a queen in the light, and I don't know what part of the shadow was like, she doesn't know who I am. She is the queen that's on the podcast is featuring you and La Bruja. She knows who you are. We know who you are. SoundMinds, can we get a SoundMinds?
SoundMinds.
You a co-star in this constellation, baby. We all know who you
thank you. I appreciate that. And it's ironic you say that, because I got stars tattooed on my arm. So
there you go. There you go. I'm gonna for the interest of the show, right? I'm gonna open up. Had a conversation with somebody recently about me as a man. The scars don't heal easy for anybody. I think for me personally, with everything, I mean, my name is LiteSkin, living it through every situation known in nature. To have a name that means life, everything I went through, I've gone through, and I'm going to keep on living through it. The mentality that goes into that is really to endure the pain, right? But I think for the most part too, what it does do is, as you were saying, Jess, it doesn't allow you to really give 100% of who you are to the person that deserves it most. And in most situations, you know, I know when I was growing up, everything that I was kind of going through with deaths of loved ones and losing loved ones and so on and so forth. And then you find somebody who does, grasp your attention, and you're like, oh, hey, I could trust you. You open up, and then whatever happens, you get cheated on, or it doesn't work out, or it doesn't. So now you're like, oh, nah, that love thing, we done. I'm just going to do everybody right. So now it's just like, now my scars now become the selfishness of, I'm just going to live life in fun and not care about hurting those, before me. So a lot of times, I think what a lot of becoming a true king of mentality and spirit and everything else of conscientious mind is more so based off of the fact of you understanding that pain, those scars that you went through, were there to build you. And sometimes the dumbest people make the dumbest of decisions. So while you gave trust and you enthralled everything who you were to these people, and they didn't treat it right, and then you're like, okay, cool, where do I find the right person, or how do I trust that the right person is out there even to be the one to kind of do what you said, the snuggling, the all that, but at the same time, understand I'm a man though. So let me do what I do. You know what I mean? And I think the one of the biggest things as a male, I'll speak for men, one of the biggest things for a real man is the fact of how do I open myself up to become vulnerable and then not get hurt worse than what I came into this situation with.
And I think that stands for everybody. I think that stands for both men and women. You know what I mean? And I feel like as a woman, again, for me, growing up, my 20s were the time in my life where I felt like I don't need a man. I could do everything by myself. What the heck I need a man for? You know what I mean? And I remember specifically telling, someone that I was with, I want you, but don't ever get it twisted. I don't need you. And now as I think about,
you was running game? You was running game? Word, you was running game.
My thing is, you grow into you. I had this mentality being raised by a single mom, learning how to do everything by myself. You come into this mentality where, like, yeah, I can do it by myself. But now, as I've gotten older, I understand. Yeah, I can be self-sufficient, but at no point do I need to demasculate the man that I'm with. A man still has to be treated like a king, and by telling a man, "Yo, I don't need you, bruh." That is so demasculating because you feel like you have literally just taken my crown off my head and put it on yours. And I think it was me understanding that I could still be me and I could still be self-sufficient and strong and, a queen, but I didn't have to be on the throne by myself. And I think it was just because I was used to being with a mom who rode the throne by herself, didn't need a king, did it all by herself, all in her glory, that I kind of got used to that. So then being with someone, it was just like, yeah, you cool. You can sit next to me.
I think sometimes when you're in a dysfunctional situation, right? Just like we said, you could be 80, 90 years old and still be a little boy, right? Not even on your way to being a king. You could also be, and a lot of us are in the cities and other situations where we hit with situations at an early age that we have to deal with for lack of functioning adults, right? You can be having to behave like a king or queen at a young age and then get to an older age where you're still trying to take on too much responsibility because you needed to at a certain time. Right. And that actually becomes dysfunctional when you have other people that are trying to work with you and you're like, I got this. You got this because you had to have it back then. You don't have to have it now by yourself, right? So it kind of is a segue into our boy Widener, who you kind of checked in on during last week. But it goes into the energy of words and how you say them. And I want to just connect something you said to what happened last week, right? Because Widener had said this comment about, do you think women are meant to serve men, right? So it was very controversial.
He didn't say, do we think? He said women should serve men. It wasn't a question, it was a statement.
That's what
it was a statement. It wasn't a question.
Here's my thing, Star. Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, everything I'm saying tonight is ignorant. It's only to learn from. I think if a woman need to slap me in the face, I'm just being like super exaggerated, right? A woman don't slap me in the face. Don't slap me in the face. What's on your podcast? No, that's not what I'm saying to y'all, okay? I'm saying if for some reason, right, a woman felt she needed to slap me in the face, and I could look at her as a woman, like I respect her as a queen, right? And I'm like, yo, first of all, part of me being a king is to, like, whenever there's a woman around, is to kind of be like, is she okay? Because I know I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? So if a woman was to slap me in the face, which is how a lot of dudes take it when women get mad or angry, they're like, she literally took my manhood. No, she didn't. She figuratively. Literal means actual. Get a dictionary. No one can take your manhood away unless they in your boxer brief drawers. All right. Having said that,
Lorena Baba did, but
if a woman is smacking you, she don't respect you. Like
she
that.
don't,
If they get
absolutely
to
not.
that part, if they get to the
Right.
point where they're smacking you, or maybe you have had a long relationship and she gets to that point, that
Thank you
means
She
for
don't, she don't respect you or respect herself.
Herself, absolutely.
that means
okay.
it's over.
So
It's over, really. It's the beginning of the end.
thank you. So now, having said that, if a woman slaps me and it's like, yo, on your podcast, something back, right? And I must step back and say, oh, wow, I said that? Or damn, it hit you like that when we said the thing on the podcast? Or, oh, I disrespected, da, 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 da. I feel like that serves me. If a woman verbally gets angry or does something I don't expect to experience as a man, instead of feeling like you're a woman, I'm a man, I feel like that can serve me. Just like my brothers, me and my brothers check each other all the time. You can ask Light and Rob, we check each other all the time, right? And that's why, like, again, we're not really talking about smacking, y'all. Nobody getting smacked here. We just try to make an example. But like, we check each other. Yo, when you said this, yo, what's up with this? What did I felt this way? It serves me. So I don't know if Wagner's online for this episode or not. But when you say a woman should serve you, I feel like women serve us all the time. The question is, when she serves you in a way you don't feel you want to be served, is you suddenly talking about she's not serving me. If she serves you with a smack, an emotional smack, hopefully not a physical, I'm sorry, I'm getting back to reality now. Emotional, spiritual.
Where she hits you with some truth, her emotional truth, or
and you grow from that, right? Men challenge women to grow all the time. That's
exactly.
That's serving.
There's something that LiteSkin said about you know, like going into it and like, well, I'm gonna do me, or like I'm not gonna. I don't know what exactly you said, but it kind of was like, because of the trauma that you went through going into the next thing, you're not gonna be as considerate about this next one because of the possibility of being hurt.
Right.
I feel like it takes courage to love each and every single time. It's a choice, you know. It's a choice to love, and compassion and empathy cannot be lost. Right. No matter what has happened to you in the past. And every single person, no matter what, has to be given that amount of trust in order to know whether they are worthy of that trust. You give the trust, and if they can't keep it, then they lose it. Same thing with respect. You give respect. If they do something, then, you know, and they lose it. But I don't think that withholding that amount of, you know, of openness, I don't think it serves you
a purpose.
Ultimately, you're not going to be happy. You may think that you're protecting yourself, but ultimately you'll never taste the sweetness of the connection of love if you don't allow yourself to be vulnerable, to be trusting, to be respectful.
If you go into you're right. You're absolutely right. If you go into a relationship with a barrier, how are you really going to know how far you can progress in that relationship? And it's funny because, not funny, but I'm a huge R&B head. Like, don't get me wrong. And there's this song that Usher has called His Mistakes. And in the song, he's talking about being with a woman who essentially has gone into the relationship using her past baggage and past traumas as a way to define things in their relationship. So even though a situation can be very similar, it could be different. If your ex told you, oh, I'm going to the movies with my homeboys, but he slid off with the next chick, but now your new man is telling you he went to the movies with his boys, but he's really at the movies with his boys, but you're like, oh, he's probably with the next chick. You're using the trauma from your past relationship to now.
Yeah, that's very difficult. That's very, very difficult to shake. to not have those things in your mind, and that's very difficult. Then I think you shouldn't be in a relationship yet. I think you need some healing, alone time. A lot of people go from one and then go right into another. I've done that.
And that's okay.
Right.
And that's another thing to even mention that's okay. You have to realize the place that you are at in your life and say, you know what, I can't get into a relationship. I'm not ready. Look, as a man, we talking to men. I only can speak to the men. Look, you got to say, yo, it's okay that I'm not ready. We was taught, and we only heard that girls should say, I'm not ready. You know, the woman should say, I'm not ready. I'm not. And when they say, I'm not ready, you got to listen to that, and we understand that. But what about when you not ready, King? Well, you have to see, a king feels that inside and says, you know what? No, I'm not ready. I'm not going to be able to treat you the right way.
But do you say that? But would you say that? Would you say that? Because women will be more honest. Women are more vulnerable. We're more emotional. Where it's easier for us to kind of, and not all women, but just naturally, women are more emotional. So we'll express that kind of sentiment. But a man may be feeling it. He knows inside he's not ready, but he's not telling the woman that. So now the woman's going into a relationship thinking, hey, we're on the same wavelength, but you're not.
Yes.
And I think for the most part, that's what I was talking about before with the categorizations, or really the deciphering of what a man between a king is. I know me, and I can only speak for myself. I know me growing up, that was one of the things that I always did, was very straightforward on the table. Here's what the situation is. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, and in any situation that I would feel like, okay, cool, I'm not ready for this commitment, I would say, hey, listen, I'm not ready for that. So before you get hurt, figure out how your feelings are. It's not to say that I can't do later on, you know what I mean? And I think that kind of segues into the next question that I have for you, Queens. Loyalty and honesty in a relationship in which you have a family. You know what I mean? And I specify family because I always feel like it's one thing when you out there, you're single, you're enjoying yourself. It's another thing when you have children at home with a queen who's taking care of her situation, taking care of the village as best she could, and you are trying to match that energy. But for whatever the reason, even though she's beautiful, she's gorgeous, she gives you everything you want, you are giving her everything you want, and that she wants, and so on and so forth. But then there's always that, maybe this is my question, do you feel like there's always that it's never enough though? And how do you feel about that, especially with the loyalty of a king, especially with the loyalties of a man who has a family at home? How do you feel about that?
I'm not sure if I'm going to be answering this question properly, but I grew up made to believe that the measure of my worth was based on the man that I had beside me. That's how I grew up. So if you were single, you wasn't shit. And so you're constantly like searching for the one, even putting yourself in these toxic relationships just so that you could be like,
I have somebody.
And I think that was like one of the biggest things I had to dismantle, that was ingrained in me from, my childhood, because there's toxic femininity too, or enabling. There's like enabling of toxic masculinity and these ideals that women themselves fall into, and make it very difficult for the women that are breaking past these barriers and these expectations. They make it very, very difficult. Shame you if you don't have kids at a certain age. Already by, a certain age, I was already getting the card. When are you going to make me a grandma? You can't have kids out of wedlock. You got to get married, and even like just all these pressures. And I feel like it's very important for us to be able to know that we are a king, even if we don't have a queen yet. So you could attract yourself a queen. Same thing with a queen attracting a king, like you have to be able to stand on your own and be happy. You have
on your own. Yes.
Your own. You have to happiness, because ain't nobody that you gonna put into that relationship gonna be the one to make you happy. They should add or help you grow happiness, but make you happy? No, you have to be
self-aware of your own emotions. Absolutely.
You have to create that. You have to be able to create that. Find those things. Until you can be happy alone, you are not going to be happy with somebody else.
Nope.
And I think
that would be the king and queen ship mentality, is the creation of what they are doing. We are creating a life together. We are building this together. When me and you meet, and we meet at these levels, at this ground right here, we starting over. What you want to do?
But remember, relationships are different. One thing I always like to premise with relationships are about partnership, not ownership. You're not coming into the relationship to tell her what to do. She's not coming into the relationship to tell you what to do. You both have to sit there, have a conversation. Okay, this is who I am. This is who I am. Now, how can we be better together? You know what I'm saying? It's not about everybody having the same, strengths. That's how a partnership works, where one is weak, one is strong, and vice versa. But you have to go into there with that honesty, with that openness, and sometimes that means saying, I'm not ready for you. I'm not ready to go there with you, as opposed to kind of saying, yeah, I'm good. And then when something happens, whoa, now I'm not ready. And that happens from both a man and a male and female perspective. Sometimes we're not honest with ourselves until you're in a situation where you have to assess and evaluate how you're going to proceed. And then you have to tell yourself, well, like, wait, I'm not ready. But now you're already enthralled in everything.
And now entanglement was the word of 2020.
The word of 2020 is entanglement. You did not just drop that bomb right here on Sound Minds. Hold up. I called that too. I said the 2020 word is entanglement, and you just said it first here on Sound Minds.
Yes.
The word, oh my God. Wait a minute. That even brings us into the femininity stage, right? That we're at with the WAP, or like entanglement. Because like we said, we don't know the backgrounds of their personal relationship and their personal conversations. We don't know what, they look like they communicate very well, Will and Jada. So we don't know the backgrounds and how they communicate and what they were actually trying to create in their relationship.
I thought that was a disaster. I think.
But at the end of the day, it still was a disaster.
It was a fucking disaster, let me tell you. And because I didn't know about August, but now I do. You know what I mean? That was the worst way to hash out their bullshit or whatever. And I actually felt it was quite narcissistic. And I love Jada, don't get me wrong. But I thought it was toxic. I thought it was painful. I think Will Smith is a king. And I'm more down with Will Smith than I am with the entanglement crew. And
I will say, so a lot of it, because August, Alcina was out there running his mouth for probably about a year before that even came out. Yeah. And it seemed like, so the whole story behind it, and we're not going to but for the most part, the whole story behind it, he was sick. He needed comfort. They both brought him in. There's a lot of stuff within that relationship that has kind of been out there.
They brought him in, and then she brought him in.
Hey, it sounds like an entanglement. And it sounds like an entanglement.
Even if they were doing their own thing, he was super duper young.
Yes.
And that's your son's boy.
Yes.
Like, I have a 22-year-old son,
and that's where that came into with
20-year-old men.
So that's toxic femininity. That's toxic.
I think so.
So what about WAP? Is WAP toxic femininity?
I think that anything that makes a little girl, if it threatens her innocence, is toxic. So I do think WAP is toxic, and that's why I wrote an acronym rebuttal to WAP. And I have the whole thing, and I rewrote it. And you could go to my Instagram, La Bruja NYC, and you'll see the whole poem because acronyms is my shit. I did it with
We want to hear it tonight.
I mean, can we hear that tonight?
All right,
Can we hear that right now? I mean, because I took a look at it, and you literally made WAP all the way throughout your whole entire poem. You made that. You flipped that acronym into everything you can imagine that actually pertains to the message.
Without saying what.
Without saying it. Yes.
Right.
So do it now.
Yes.
Yeah. WAP. Y'all are fucking with some wise ass pros. Women aren't protected. Words as projectiles. We are persecuted. Wishing away pain. Watching angry people. Wanting all parts. Weathered against patriarchy. Wrangled as property. Wearing aprons professionally. Welcoming angels presently. Wittingly arming prowess. Wimpish assholes prod. Why ask presidents who act poisonously? America punishes with abandonment purposefully, while amounting pesos with arrogant pride, walking around pedophiles who adore pussy. Whisperless, errant, pure. Wednesdays are penciled with addresses privately. Wi-Fi accesses pornography. Women arrive posturized. Weddings arranged prematurely. Whatever asses provide. Widow adolescents placate. Whispering alarms penetrate. Why, asked Poppet, will anyone persevere? Whites aren't prosecuted. Well, that's a purpose. Went around, popping wide, arrayed pills, whatever addiction pleases. We aren't prepared, wrestling against poverty while acting puny, washing areas profusely. Winds agitate pollution. Why aren't people wide awake polemically? Where's afterlife pointing? Witches align powers, wishing altruistic peace. WAP adamantly villainized, wet and pink. Warriors attack politics. What you think? Always pushing. We ain't playing. Why ask permission? We are pissed. We are Amazons procreating, wild and promiscuous. We're all psychos, well-aware prudes. We're all prostitutes, watched and perceived, well-groomed and pretty. Writing acronym poetry.
Woo!
Let's go.
That is so
Let
dope.
me get those snaps. Hit that like button. Hit that like button.
That is
right
so
now.
crazy. You know what's crazy that we and I'm glad. One, thank you for that. And I also, last week we brought up WAP, and I kind of spoke on it, and it's crazy because
your point goes to her point.
Yeah, 1,000%. I just kind of feel exactly what you said. I have one of the reasons why I felt like these two topics had to be discussed was I have two daughters. You know what I'm saying? I got two baby girls, and I got to make sure that one, when they look at daddy and his face, they understand they dealing with a king. When they look at mommy, when they look at my wife, they're dealing with a queen. And that's what they need to look up to. You know what I'm saying? But the way the industry and the way the world kind of, when you talk about pedophiles, we talk about a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff that I want to get into in this season or next season that we're probably going to have to bring you back up here, Bruja, and you too, Jess. But one of the things that I noticed was nobody told me this. Nobody said nothing. I actually had a conversation with my daughter. She's 18 the day before that. We was going to go on air, with the topic, and we spoke about WAP. And I felt like, damn, I didn't want it to come off as if here it is, I'm taking a Latina and a young black woman and attacking them for this. But I just had to express myself in the sense of my 12-year-old shouldn't look up and say, hey, is that what I should be doing? Or that's what I should look up?
That's the dangerous part. Now, I'm all for a fully expressed woman, but let's be clear. Right. That is stripper music. That is
exactly
stripper.
Exactly.
And the sick part about hip hop is that it likes to gear its feminine hip hop towards the stripper role.
But wait. But last week I actually didn't say specifically hip hop. I said specifically the industry, the machine behind that. Because it's look, it's the artist. The artist is, let's say, La Bruja. She dresses, you know, she puts on her ashun, and she comes in and you know, she comes on very feminine through her videos, right? So at the same time, but that is for the women of her culture and her peers, in a sense. That's who she's marketing to. That's who she knows who's following her. You have a machine that now takes the artistry of those women and now blasts it to the youth that makes ones. It now trouble. Okay,
right.
That's where that's systemic. That's also patriarchy.
Right? Very much.
Of serving of what the man wants visually and in that role, and you know, it's very specific.
But you know what's crazy? So with that being said, when I said that, let me ask a quick
question. I got another ignorant question that I need to answer.
Hold on, before you ask that question, because hold on.
Keep going on.
Yeah. So through that same vein, what I wanted to say was there was that situation. There's that video, right? And we know this is the systemic and how the industry does what it does. What I also wanted to say, and it's only right that I mention it here, I also respected Megan for speaking up when a sucker went and shot both of her feet, like as a dude. I was like, damn, I don't want it to be seen. You know what I mean? Yeah, because I kind of felt like, oh, damn, it's wrong for me to mention that where they're taken from the queenship of our young ladies, but at the same time not mention the suckerism of a dude who's going to shoot her at the feet. And then when she spoke up, there was tons of people going at her like, yo, I like that though. Your man loves you. That's what that means. Where this dude is sitting here. So I say that to say, and it goes back to what I said previously. Genitalia does not make you a king or queen. What you have, your physical attributes does not make you a king or queen. It makes you by birthright, male or female. Now, man or woman is the next level, and then king or queen is the next level. The fact that La Bruja just took WAP, which is known for the acronym for one thing, which is very demeaning, right? And especially for a young lady who's listening to this, took that and empowered those same three letters and said, well, watch this. That's queenship. And it's not to knock. And the one thing,
100%.
And I don't even want to, you know, because I spoken to, for season 3, we're going to have 2 dope females come on and speak about the empowerment of women artists who do what they do without having to feel like they have to do certain things. So there's a little gem in that, right? But I don't want it to ever be seen as, oh, so what you're doing is you're demonizing one set of category of women to big up another. No, that's not what I'm doing. And I'm glad that was even brought up because I love that question and I love the topic. What I'm saying is La Bruja just exhibited and pretty much made it be known, yo, dope, you made the acronym. That's cute. Watch this.
The difference. It's the levels to this ish. You feel me? It's the levels to this.
It's crazy. So thank you for that, Bruja. Thank you.
That WAP was adamantly villainized because I understand that. I understand that it is, you know, that's why I said WAP adamantly villainized Wet and Pink. Because there is a place for empowering women, but there are princesses.
Absolutely.
We have to protect our little princesses.
Yes.
And no, that's interesting that you say that because I know that one of Cardi B's stances on this is that it is not her duty or her responsibility to, you know, to
money.
Right. And I get it. And I get it. But it's also a thing. This is not your duty. You're absolutely right. You got to do what you got to do. But as a mom, there's no way that I would allow my daughter to hear that because I need my daughter to understand your power comes from here and from here and from here. That's it. Whatever else is
that once your little girl goes out the door, she's going to hear it at a party. She's going to hear it in a car passing. You know, like we can't protect.
No, and there's a difference. There's a difference where you you're not there to protect them. You know what I'm saying? That's where conversations come in. I feel like that's the importance about having those conversations, because I'm not trying to have you go out there and be naive, but I want you to understand that that is not the definition of who you are.
You want to hear
right? You're going to hear it here. You're going to hear it from me before you hear it from anybody else.
That's one of the most things that I like to focus on is the conversation, is actually raising conscious children. You know, make them conscious of it. You know, I mean, they're not dumb. You know, they know that it's around. You know, you got TikTok now that's taking, if you're 10 and older, you know what TikTok is.
10 and older. My kid is 7 and she knows what TikTok is. She came in like, Mommy, you know the bad and bougie dance? I'm like, what? Talking about?
No, but so now it's like, hold up. I even had the conversation like, yo, hold up. We can't throw them to the wolves. That's like throwing them to the wolves on just having them go on any social media app and start seeing whatever they see when you know any type of thing that can be out there. So it's like, yo, this is what's adult, and you're not at that age and you're not ready for that. You need to understand that. And it's raising conscious, you know, young kings and queens to now follow that type of behavior. You know what I mean? I don't think we talked about our young 20s. You know, Megan Thee Stallion is only 25 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean? She's a young queen. You know what I mean? I mean, she's in her young 20s doing what she do.
Right.
Like, just like how y'all literally broke down the lessons that you learn from mistakes in your 20s, or just even just experiences in your 20s. You know what I mean? That
she's living through those things now. And it's like, maybe when she's in her 30s, how is it going to affect her?
Yes.
Or how is she going to see herself differently?
Yeah, like herself. You don't know. Every journey is unique. But rap poet, we were saying what we've been cutting you off so many times. What?
Sorry.
Nah, this is all tying together. So it's all perfectly cutting in and weaving in. But I'm trying to remember how it all beautifully ties in. There was something that La Bruja said about the toxic femininity, or the allowance of men's wants to take over your human wants as a sovereign individual yourself, regardless of your sex, your gender, or anything else. And it's funny you said that, because I think, Jess, you'll probably remember, that's how we came up with toxic femininity, exactly how you said. We said toxic femininity then would be when women put forth the idea that their needs don't matter compared to a man.
That of their man.
Whether I'm believing that. Now, again, I'm not a woman. I'm saying if I were a woman, if I'm a woman believing that your needs matter more than mine because you're a man, that's that toxic femininity. It's kind of like an allowance of toxic masculinity, right?
Or not even speaking their mind.
Toxic masculinity. But then there's the flip side of a woman. Toxic femininity is the woman that emasculates her man, you know, like that shames her man, that expects certain things because he's a man. You know, that's toxic.
It is, and it's true.
And throw that in there. I'll take that one.
And I had a conversation with LiteSkin about that. You know, how there's that whole idea, and you know, this is just like a very, very broad example of women who are just like, well, you know, if a man don't drive this type of car, or, you know, make this amount of money, or can pay for me to get my nails done or my hair done, and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, first of all, let me ask you a question, because you living at home with your mama.
That's something
you ain't even working, but you over here telling him you got to do something. And my mindset is, I cannot expect a man to do something for me that I cannot do for myself. Because if that man is gone at any moment, I got to stand on my own 2 feet. I need to be able to rely on myself.
And that's queen talk. That's kandake. That's
entitlement is a sickness.
It is, absolutely.
It's a sickness in friends and men and women and relationships.
So let me say this about the WAP track. And this is my ignorance that you could give me your wisdom on. Aside from the young ladies, right? if you are a grown-ass woman listening to this song, right? I feel like based on what we're saying right now, there's still a potential for it to go left, go right, or branch out into a beautiful possibility. Where I think it goes left is if my wife is playing this song thinking, oh, I need to play this to be sexy, and I need to wear this, and I need to dress like she looked in the video because that's what my man likes. If she's playing it like that, I think that's toxic. If she's playing it like, okay, the kids are asleep, I'm feeling sexy and free and loving and then that's beautiful and that's fun. For me as a man to tell her that's negative, then it becomes a sort of toxic masculinity where I'm like, that's negative music. Are you a harlot? You know what I'm saying? It's like I feel like both of those come down to what y'all are really, this discussion is not often had, which is what is the toxicity? And I think what we're saying again from this week to last is the toxicity is when women are doing things based on this idea that that's what men like, and therefore if I have something, I'm not even going to tell him if I have a different preference or like, because it doesn't matter. That's disgusting. And I don't think any real kings, when we talking about kings, I think if you got somebody calling themselves a king that wants you to do things with no concern for what you actually like, and they can adjust to support you and your desires, that's a little boy. That's immaturity.
And you're betraying yourself as a queen. You're betraying your entire self, your spirit, your being by doing that, putting someone else's needs first. Now, love really has to do with, loving someone so much that their happiness, is important to you, right? Whether they're with you or whether they're not with you, that whatever, if being with you makes them happy, then that's what you want for them. That's real love. Holding, owning, controlling, manipulating, shaming, all of that shit really comes down to either you're codependent or you're narcissistic. So these women that enable these men and just forget about their needs, that's codependency. That's psychological talk. You can look that shit up on YouTube and learn it and dismantle it, because I was a codependent. And if you're the opposite, where you feel like you're entitled, you're above, that's narcissism.
That's narcissism.
Both those things in the women, there's both those things in the men. Like, really, we're different, but we're not that different. But you know what? I have a question. Pornography. Men using pornography while in a relationship.
That's like,
I'm really, because I had this conversation with my son yesterday, and I'm curious. I'll tell you what I think after you tell me what you think.
So we're going down the line of who's talking? Yeah.
It's you. This is you guys first.
You look like you about to, I know like about to say something crazy. Crazy.
So if y'all hear any background noise, that's my dog about to bug out. I'm just gonna put it out there. All right. So I'm not gonna lose sight of what the question is. I will say that I'm gonna use, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna use Jessica's line. So in my 20s, no, I will say when I was younger,
band camp.
Right. When I was younger, I would say that for the most part, that was a tool utilized only if it was in the comfort of the female I was with. And I will say that for the most part, it wasn't necessarily something that was a necessity. At the same time, I felt that it, again, based on the individual you with, it's all different based off of the relationships and scenarios, of course. But I felt like for the both of whoever, myself and whoever I was with at the time, heightened it. I will say that me being older now, I do see a very demeaning type of feel to it, just based off of the fact that I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I would never sit there and at all watch two men at all, even if it was asked of me. You know what I mean? But had no problems, and at most times made sure that whatever we were watching was 2 females. So I will say that at the end of the day, my answer to your question is, me being older now, I do see a lot of the masculine toxic feelings that went into the thought process of me being a young man. And as you know, Brew, wow, I'm opening up now. I I myself was well, I'm being real personal with the world right now. I myself was, you know what I mean? I was for the most part molested by somebody when I was very young, you know what I mean, by a female. And I think that kind of injected a certain type of feel as I got older. I remember being 6 years old in a kindergarten class, kissing 2 female cousins, you know what I mean? And I felt like I'm the man for that, you know what I mean? And you know, so my growth in regards to sexuality and being with women was very much on steroids since very young because of what I went through when I was younger. And I felt like, oh, no, this is only right that I'm doing this. So to answer your question, older now, I see it. Definitely, I see the void in my mentality. But back then, I felt like, nah, this is a tool, though. It was heightening the moment.
Thank you for your vulnerability and your courage and your honesty.
Thank you.
Do anybody else want to say anything about pornography?
I definitely do, but Rod, you want to go first?
Yeah, I could go first. It's simple, exactly what LiteSkin said. It's a tool, you know. Younger in my younger years. I mean, actually, I was more active than anything, so I didn't really watch as much. I mean, I'm talking about young as a teenage kid. Yes, as a kid, that was just something you did as a kid.
Right.
I researched online and found crazy stuff, but then getting into my 20s, I was active. But now as an adult, I'd just say it still can be used as a tool, but it's not something that's necessary, you know, and it's not necessary at all, even in the sense of having it throughout the act. You know what I'm saying?
So a tool to what?
A tool like me, I could research something crazy like crazy positions. What's the most craziest positions out there? And then, you know, we like
Kama Sutra stuff.
Yeah, you know, Kama Sutra stuff, you know what I mean? Things of that nature. You could look into what else you can do, you know what I mean, in that aspect. But the problem on these sites is, once again, that ties into what LiteSkin was saying. And like, look at how some of these things are titled of being I'm being with my sister or stepbrother or da 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 da. It's all psychologically damaging. You know what I mean? So you have to have a level of, you know, that level of consciousness to look past that, like you said, and not see, you know, and not see it as detrimental to, you know, you know, because when it is, then that's when you have to stay away from it.
Emotional maturity to like really.
Emotional maturity is it, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, when I was young, it was no emotional maturity. It was because I was immature, just seeking to see what was there. Physical.
It was
things,
the physicality.
To learn too.
Yeah.
You know, and it's to learn. You know, things that I'm talking about teenage years. You know what I mean? Teenage years. You know, but then now it's like, hey, what else? You know, it's a what else thing, and I still can see it as a tool. That's me personally speaking.
See, that's what I love about this question, Star, because there's a lot of things that we try to get on this show that go deeper than what people actually talk about. And one of the things we talked about on the last episode was there's a lot of things like in the LES that we did that were very insecure and corny and bullyish. And we didn't even realize we was calling people, and it wasn't even like we had the discussion about the energy behind words and the amelioration of pejorative words to where you would say gay and we would say, well, is gay a bad word? Well, if every time you hear gay in a negative space with a negative tone with your life being threatened, then you're making it a negative thing.
Absolutely.
Right? So this is one of those things where like, in the context of us being raised not to be kings and to be raised as thugs and rapists and gangsters and fit into this thing where it's okay to lock us up because we're all these negative things and therefore it's justified to go just stop and frisk Black and Latino men. One of the things that we didn't realize we was been raised all the time is to prove our manhood by demeaning other people, which we come to find out what does dissing gay people or calling your friend gay when you're dissing him have anything to do with you being a man, as opposed to establishing that when gay people are around you, trans people are around you, women are around you, they actually feel safer because you're not a bully. And that's what we come to realize as manhood and king. And I think it's similar with pornography, where like anything that would show you like, oh, this is how you make. And again, I want to say how ignorant this is. And I want to send a big heart out to all my little brothers out there. This is something that, and I got to ask the sisters at the end of this question if y'all really understand this. But so much of what we do that's disgusting as men and boys is to get women's approval. I know it sounds crazy, but like there's a big part of like, oh, how many girls' numbers did you get? It comes off like, oh, that's men dominating women, and it is, and it's disgusting in that way. But a lot of that is saying, I got women's approval. And boys and men's and kings, but in a positive, non-toxic way, part of our duty is to get the queen's approval. So in that sense, trying to figure out how to sexually please a woman, how to figure out how to talk to them in a certain way. And that's where the drive, I think, started. At least for me, like with pornography, it's like, oh, you could find out what positions or whatever. And just spoiler alert, as a man now, and hopefully as a growing king, you find out that women are not really interested in something that you can see on the screen. And it's interesting, like even the Kama Sutra, even our African ancestors, our Indian, not having this puritanical European view of sex. Like, yes, go beyond that, go explore. We have beautiful pictures of sexuality on temples in Africa and India. We need to know about that. But it's just like the ayahuasca and the herb, the way it has been changed and made to be manipulative and take power away from women is a very disgusting thing. So that's one of the things that I came to see. Like, as soon as it was like, wow, access to seeing women and how you please them, and then I want to be that. But once you learn that you could do the most amazing physical, crazy things, and if you're not mentally and spiritually and heart connected with a woman,
it does nothing.
It does nothing.
Yeah, and she could feel it too. She could tell the disconnect. So I personally think that a king does not need porn. I personally think that a king is more interested in learning what a woman wants by asking the woman. That's one of the things that I've faced many times. It's like men, instead of saying, can I kiss you? Go in for the kiss. It's like, yo, just ask me.
Back up, homie.
Ask me if I want to be touched. Don't just touch me. Ask me, talk to me, you know? But I think that it's a little
seductive too sometimes. It's tension, it's romance. May I kiss you now?
Yes. That is fucking delicious. That's amazing. But this pornography, this pornography culture, it is all lies. That's
it's like, oh yeah. It's like bam, bam, thank you, ma'am type situations.
You know, like I feel like pornography is really hurting our men. It's really hurting our men, and then in turn hurting our women. And I feel like pornography in a relationship, if you use it together, okay, that's cool. If he's going sneaking off to go watching porn and then coming back to the kitchen after you've been cleaning and cooking, that's fucked up.
Right.
And I think for the most part, that's why. That's why I was saying in regards to the whole.
Hey, that's called porn addiction.
Right. But I think what you're saying, and it's you know what it is too, and I think it kind of like, again, this is the whole situation of what we've been taught since young, right? When we were young little baby boys, we were told, don't ever pick up anything pink, don't ever pick up any Barbie dolls, you got to do something else, or you got to pick up the wrestlers, not the Ken doll, because the Ken doll represents, and then there's a whole indoctrination of the
you ain't about to learn how to have no sex from the women. You better go learn how. You better learn. You better
right,
learn how to deliver. When you meet her, you better know how to deliver.
Right,
That's men talk though. Look. See, they don't know that. They don't know that.
But I think that's where the toxic, and I get it now, right? Because you know what's funny? My mentality, of course, naturally speaking, right? Light skin is not the same light skin before light skin had children. You know what I mean? And then when God said, "Yeah, homeboy, watch this. You got 2 daughters to deal with now." That's when the mentality changes different. Where it's like,
that's
oh,
a fact.
Damn.
That is a fact. That is a fact.
So and I will say that the whole mentality behind that world, right, has always been one of those of which, go learn this through this, and go heighten up the moment through this, and then. As I got older, I was like, oh snap, I never realized how demeaning and disrespectful. Now, granted, the thirst of many is not necessarily a thirst of purity. You know what I'm saying? So one of which people will sit there and be like, yo, I'm thirsty, go drink water. Other people will sit there and be like, yo, I'm thirsty, let me go get alcohol. And I think that it's all based off of the mentality and looking into it now, especially with having daughters, that's where my mentality started shifting and I started learning more. Was more so based off of, how is it that women are objectified even to the purest of forms of not only sex, but also intelligence and other things and all, you know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of like, okay, cool. You're supposed to have a woman that wants to run her own business, but respects you enough to understand that even with her possibly making more money than you still the man though with a house. And I'm just like, nah, one of the, kind of off topic, but on topic at the same time, man. There's a female lyricist. She's a battle rapper and she does other things. She goes by the name of Misfit. Misfit is from Brooklyn. She runs with Cortez. Shout out to them. Shout out to the whole Av posse. And so one of the things that she's done was, and I think is dope, she started spelling king with a Q. You know what I mean? So in a sense, Qing. You know what I'm saying? And that's her whole thing. Like, nah, I'm a king. I just happen to be a woman. So, and I say that to say, in many situations, unfortunately, most of our queens happen to have to be kings because the dude is not doing the proper job to even hold that title on that throne. And truth is, when I see some of the women that I see and as empowering as you are, I'm gonna put it out there right now. All due respect. You women, and I'm saying this as respectfully as possible, you women menstruate on a monthly basis, give birth to human beings. And for you not to receive the proper throne, the pedestal, because truth of the matter is, when we talk about king or queen, and I'm saying this as a king, the queen is the most important of the castle. Because a man's going to do what a man's going to do to protect. He's going to do what he does to take care of his family. But the fact that God or whatever being has instilled and enthralled and said, hey, woman, here's all the things you got to deal with as being a woman, to me, there's no more powerful than that. You know what I'm saying?
Men are here to protect and women are here to create.
Yes. And at the same time, I feel like the most powerful of relationships are those that understand that outside of a man creating, but there's a balance in all those things between two. You know what I mean? Between the king and the king and the queen. Whereas,
Just what? Real quick, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nah, brother, nah. I was done. Yeah, I was good.
But I was gonna say, just before we move on from the topic, what is your message on pornography?
Well, for me personally, it's never been my thing. I don't personally say I don't see the point. I've seen it before, but I can honestly tell you 9 out of 10 times that is not what I feel intimacy embodies. You know, I feel like even though the physical aspect of a relationship is super important in any relationship, there has to be an emotional and a spiritual connection that go with it as well, which is, and again, that's something that is different for everybody. There are people that can just engage in sexual encounters and just be fine with it. That's just not me. I'm a very emotional person. In order for me to feel that I want to, go on that level with you, there has to be a connection. So for me, pornography has never done it. Now, I don't see if somebody's using it as like the dummy's way of learning how to have sex. Well, then you need to try somewhere else, because if you come to me with anything in there, like La Bruja said, like, a man, don't take it, ask for it, work your way into it. There's something about foreplay, okay? And there's no foreplay in pornography. There is no foreplay in pornography. And I feel like when you're building a relationship, that is all foreplay. It's emotional foreplay, it's spiritual foreplay, it's mental foreplay. So pornography doesn't do it for me because there is no foreplay.
That is so. I'm so glad we actually had to have this conversation. You know what I mean? These points that were made, and I can, as an overview, as an overall, from what I take from it, is the intimacy aspect of it, and there is no intimacy, and we can all agree on that right here on this podcast and agree to that and say that there is no intimacy, and that is one of the main problems of that. And when you have generations, subject to that, just as if we're talking about the WAP song, the WAP videos, or any of the videos that are now put in their face, it's telling them that this is how they should be, and we've heard so many different perspectives on how to take in, or, perspectives on pornography, to actually understand that there are many, many perspectives on that, you know what I mean? And it does take level of maturity and understand that what is not, what pornography is not for your relationship. So I appreciate that conversation.
That analogy you making between the WAP video and just pornography, which obviously is beyond, right? WAP, you could see your daughter might see it by accident, right? Her friend might have it on the cell phone, but pornography, hopefully there's more stops in place before someone sees that.
Right.
But it's such a similar thing to me, y'all. And that's one of the things I'm getting from this conversation. It's really communication. You could be like, my son is older than he's ever been, and I have to try to understand him more than I ever have. And I think that's the challenge when you're building a kingdom, a king and a queen, prince, whatever. What I think a king and a queen does is they look at strangers as old friends, because they know you a king or a queen. You know what I mean? Like, all of us on this call, we got a certain amount of notoriety for things. So 9 times out of 10, when you book for something, you step in a space, people like you, right? And I think as you progress in your royalty, it's going back to the people who already know you and saying, how can we get more intimate? And this isn't just in a sexual relationship. How can everyone who you've known for years, how can you, like La Bruja, I've known for years, right? But this is our first time having an interview like this. You know what I mean? Light held me down for years since the block, but I'm still growing my relationship with Light. You know what I mean? Ra, like, it's just now. And I think kings or men's on the way to be kings, we have more trouble with this in general than women do. But like, really telling our feelings to each other and being like, yo, you hurt my feelings when you did this and that. And I hope that I've been there in that sense for my brothers. You know what I mean? Like, Light and Rod could both tell you that at least I definitely tried to. You know what I mean? I definitely try to be that. Like, I'm not growing and I'm not your friend if I'm not getting to a point where I could do that. But anyway, I wanted to say I'm definitely taking that from this, whether it's WAP or whether it's the pornography. Like, if you're gonna do it, check in with your people you watch it with and be like, yo, are you watching this because you think I like it and these are the things you have to act like, or are you having fun? And I say I got a funny one too, because I remember that pornography phase once I'm looking over and realizing that, my queen was like comparing herself to people there. You know what I mean? And in my mind, I'm like, she way more gorgeous, beautiful, this and that. This is just like some entertainment ambiance. And once I realized that, I was like, you know what? This really takes more conversation before just throwing this on, because the precedent of what this is that I'm playing this to tell you what to do. You know what I mean? And that's definitely not what it is. Like, I
Yes.
want you, the real one, not that one. You know what I'm saying? And the last thing I'll say is, like, whether it's the president, whether it's the government, yo, we get by default, we empower so much nasty stuff. And when you look how closely related the porn industry is to the prostitution industry, to the subjugation of women in general, to the subjugation of Black and Latino women in entertainment and men in entertainment, it makes you feel a certain way. Like, if you could get some non-GMO organic adult sexual Kama Sutra things, you know what I mean? But once you learn what's behind a lot of
Hey, hold
stuff,
up. Wait.
like,
I researched it. It's not available. It's not available. I researched it.
There's some shit about tantric sex. Look up tantric.
No, I looked up tantric sex, and the tantric sex, the way that they portray it is it's. I feel like I already do that. That's natural. That's something that's already a natural thing that you don't have to teach me to already do. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's
you though.
Yeah.
That's bro. You
man.
So I think, it's just dangerous because pornography and songs like WAP are grooming our youth.
And I agree with you on that point.
To follow into exactly
and that footstep.
Sex trafficking,
Yes.
child trafficking, like that shit is fucking real.
Yes.
And we normalize it. We start normalizing it because we see it so much. Same thing with these songs with these little girls. They start this is grooming. It's really grooming for a future of toxicity.
And it leads to leads to like a whole aspect of a woman children, and then women looking at themselves negatively. You know what I'm saying? Even when I was growing up, there wasn't this whole social media platform. There weren't all these different types of things. But now it's like prevalent. And I grew up with something I didn't realize until I was 18. I was diagnosed with something called body dysmorphia. So essentially what it is my brain lives in like a house of mirrors. Essentially, it's like I look at myself in the mirror and I'm literally like 10 sizes bigger than I am. So it's always been very difficult for me to see my physical beauty because I've always seen myself in a different way. So now even struggling with that as an adult, and then social media gives you this portrayal and this embodiment of what a woman's supposed to look like. And now you have these younger girls that are coming up and they're feeling like, if I don't look like that, am I less beautiful? Or am I not going to be valued by a king because I'm not what a queen is, because I don't look like a queen? So that's why I feel like, as La Bruja said, it is toxic because we're making these young women in this generation feel like they have to fit a certain stereotype,
that they are not enough, which is what plagues all of us. We're not enough. Somehow you're not man enough. You're not woman enough. You're not this enough. It's like that right there is what is completely destroying our people, our mind, our mindset, how we treat each other. It really comes from a lack of love, a self-love, and a self-awareness,
what we see
of your power, of your beauty.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I actually I have a IGTV series called Reflection and Introspection. And last week I had someone ask me a question in my inbox, because I go through my inbox and I kind of touch on things that people write. And this one person wrote to me. It wasn't a statement, it was a question. And the question was, am I worth it? And it hit me so hard, because that is where we are these days. People do not feel that they are worth it, whether it's because of, the color of your skin, the fact that we're women, because women are treated even less than, you know what I mean? So you have that, or whether or not you're a black. Yes, it's just like there's so many different things.
Or is it that the cycle still continues?
Yeah.
the cycle that you just spoke about, that
Right.
you grew up with, of the House of Mirrors. You know, we can testify to many of stories of women in our generation, each one of our generations, that we grew up with, that had that same thing because of the way media and the way things were going,
or
in
even
that
the way life
direction.
is.
And so or just the way life is. Thank you. You know, and just for that aspect of it, you know, is it just that the cycle is continuing and that they still, women in their 20s and teenage years, have to learn that same thing that you learn, you know, like that we learn to become kings and queens, that to become these kings and queens and speak about these things, these aspects from experiences.
And that's what it is. It is experience. It is experience.
It's all
It's
experience.
going through it's going through those trials and tribulations and growing. And like I said, it took me a long time because I grew up, you know, never feeling beautiful. And it wasn't because I wasn't told I was beautiful. My mom told me, but I'm like, you're my mom. You're supposed to tell me I'm beautiful. You know what I mean? But always being.
And we're balancing that cycle. And we're balancing that cycle.
We got some people in the chat just loving what we're saying and agreeing. But one thing my bro A said is positive affirmations go away. I want to say that, and y'all could join in with me. I want everybody who's listening to our chat before we go forward to hear, you are enough. I am enough. She is enough. He is enough. We are enough.
Absolutely.
We are
enough.
I go through that every morning with my daughter.
Enough. You are
absolutely
enough.
Thank you.
And you know what's
thank you, because that really just speaks to what I was just saying, like how we are balancing that. We now are creating platforms to balance that.
Exactly.
We do see, look, we understand the balance of masculine and feminine energy in the world aspect. And that's what's being either over masculine or over feminine being portrayed onto that can now spill over to the children, which is now we have to have these conversations to have the people awake of what's going on right now.
But it also goes to the fact that you have to speak to your children more. I'm sorry to cut you off, like
no, please.
You have to speak to your children more because, you know, when we grew up, children were seen and not heard. And a lot of times it was just like you would say things and your parents would think you were saying it because you were just trying to, like, you know, the noneria, and you were just trying to like be a pain in the ass. But I have conversations and I listen, and I love it because my mom listened to me. You know what I mean? And I feel like you have to listen to your kids, because if you're not listening to your kids, they're automatically going to feel like their points are invalid. You know, so I listen to my daughter. On my mirror right now, you speaking positive affirmations. I have 5 positive affirmations on the mirror that she says to herself every morning when she wakes up in the morning, because she knows that whatever you're going to go outside, the energy that you get in here is the energy that you're going to exude out there. So I need to teach you to portray that. But you know what I mean? But that means having conversations with our children. And a lot of times, generationally, you didn't have conversations with your kids. Your kids were in the room, and that's it. You know what I mean?
And I think that, you know, what's crazy. I think that, and I'm glad you said that, right? And what Ra was talking about, I was gonna go right into, and then, you know, based off of the purpose of time too, I know, Jess, you had that baby girl waiting. I know it's getting late. We on 2 hours.
She fell asleep.
We're on 2 hours right now.
She fell asleep. She was like, "Mommy, you need me? Cause I'm going to bed." I was like,
"She's out." So and this is what I'm saying, that I think one of the beautiful things about this podcast, right, is just that the creation of it is not necessarily to sit here and tell you about, you know, SoundMinds, LiteSkin's, Rashaman's, or self-suffice's favorite color. We're not going to sit here and be biased about what it is we talk.
On all platforms, title.
You know, so it's not about plugging. It's not about plugging. That's not what SoundMinds podcast is. But you know, at the same time, what it definitely is about is creating that stage and that platform for multiple conversations that need to kind of be heard, just based off of the fact that we as people of color, we don't have them. You know what I mean? And when we do have them, we get shut down. So you will never see a topic such as this on Fox 5 or on Hot 97. No disrespect to them. You know, and if you're trying to sue me, you get 10 cents off of that. So it's not worth it. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, you're not going to hear these conversations because people don't want ours to be empowered. And this is why when topics such as these or the guests that we bring on are so very, very much, they're valuable and they vary in different aspects in different ways, because we always want people to say, even if somebody right now said, yo, I don't even give a damn how a king or queen is seen. All right, next week, we talking about the imprisoned system and how people who have been in prison come back with empowered thoughts and now doing something more powerful with Tariq Green. And, you know, and so what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, this is what the SoundMinds podcast is. And I think the fact that you guys are so valuable to that, you know what I'm saying? Although we're the host, the most important thing, though, is the guest, because these conversations now we can have them. Like I said, I opened up. There's probably about 5 to 7 people in the world that knew about the whole situation of me being molested when I was 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. You know what I mean? And so for me to say that now is because not only of a comfort zone, but support of, you know what, this may help somebody else right now. This may very well take somebody who's been through that and not know how to handle it. Right,
that's what happens when queens get on the court. You could tell the brother, he said 6, 7, 8. He ain't even talked about it enough to even know until y'all came on the court.
Right.
But you know what? You also take power back in that, and that's much respect, because the minute that you talk about it, you're taking that power back, and you're taking that back and saying, you know what, this happened, but it doesn't define who I am. So much respect to you for that.
I don't know if you would have done this with 2 dudes on the court. You know, I think
definitely not.
I really
probably not. Probably not.
Episode, this was one of our most crucial and vital podcasts we've ever had. You know, shout out to my star Jessica Care Moore. The episode she came on was super duper empowering to the feature of that night, which was Brandon Leak. She could have been featuring her own, but she came on just to say, look, young brother, I won Apollo 5 times in a row and did all this, but this is how I made it sustainable, and you're about to be on that cusp. I do want to make a footnote now. Brandon Leak is the first poet to ever win America's Got Talent. Not only
No. He didn't win it. He got the gold buzzer. He didn't win it yet. But for him to win it, right? And this is off topic, so please pardon me, ladies. Brandon Leak got the gold buzzer from America's Got Talent. But for him to win it September 1st, which is what, tomorrow?
No, Tuesday.
He needs our votes. And this is a young black man who opened up the gates for spoken word poets and for people of any genre outside of what America's Got Talent was already doing, and got the gold buzzer. So, Self, go ahead. Take it away from there.
You sure?
Yeah, he didn't win it. He needs us.
Because we got to go hard for Brandon.
Yes.
But like a lot of people, when they watch this show, America's Got Talent, they just see it within an episode, right? So you can win an episode. But like Light was saying, the golden buzzer is beyond winning the episode. Because what happens when you win the golden buzzer is you go to the end of the season automatically. The people that you see win episodes, they still got to compete for other episodes. But when you win the gold buzzer, what happens is you go to the end. And like Light said, on Tuesday, September 1st, you can vote like 30 times. So we want y'all to get the app. We want y'all to go through the website. We want y'all to go through Xfinity. If you have Xfinity in my area, that's what it is. Just check this out. This is unprecedented. And this is what I'm saying about, like, through this whole episode with our women on the call, we're being empowered to actually have a deeper conversation. Not just the arguing, angry one. And this is why, obviously, it wouldn't be on Fox News. You're absolutely right, bro. Because they're interested in the trigger and reactive. Every time you have real conversations with black women and men, they do nothing but love and empower us. And like we were saying to Wagner, if they are serving you with a slap, a mental slap or emotional shot, it's only to make us stronger anyway. So they give us these soundbite conversations between men and women where we hate each other. And that's not what we really do in our cycle. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
this is a perfect example of how to talk about these topics in an adult, mature, respectful way where no one was, you know, we all heard each other out. We got to say what we really felt. Like all those things are just so important. And
yeah, for real.
as an example of what it looks like, this is what really talking about something looks like.
For real. I
And
thank
not
you for
only
that.
that,
For real.
I wanna add on to that. It's what grown-ups look like talking, but more importantly, right? This is what Black and Latino people look like, empowering and building up and constructing together.
Absolutely.
Because truth of the matter is, we, if by categorizations, you know what I'm saying, light skin would have been the cold-hearted dude that can't talk about this, that, and the third. And then you got two Latinas, so they can't get along with each other. And then you got two black men who can't get along with the Latino dude. Because with all that being said, we are showing that all those stigmas are only created based off of the media and based off of the fact that they only do not want us empowered, because this is what happens when empowerment shows.
Absolutely.
Right here on SoundMinds podcast.
SoundMinds.
For the sake of time, I want to wrap it up with one last thing, just like how we wrapped it up last week, with each of us giving what a queen looks like. I would like our queen.
King or queen?
What a queen looks like. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Now I would like our queens to now say, what does a king look like in your perspective? Give us that breakdown. Give it to us.
Light goes first. Okay.
No.
La Bruja goes first. Okay. Yeah. All right.
What does he look like? You don't mean, literally. What does he look like?
Not literally. I'm talking about mentally, physically, spiritually. Everything of what we wrapped up in a whole. Like last week. We gave breakdowns and aspects of what it would be.
A king to me,
yes,
is kind, compassionate, wise, thoughtful, gentle, but firm when needed, giving, but not foolish.
Facts.
It's a lot of shit. It's really what a queen looks like too. Really, a king and a queen. These qualities is just, and one that smiles at strangers and treats everyone equally. That's a king to me. Yeah.
I would say strong but vulnerable. Even when you have difficulty communicating, you try your best. Someone who is willing to grow with you. Someone that does not allow their circumstances to basically impact their direction, because that just shows your willingness to grow. Someone that allows their queen to hold their queendom without feeling like it is going to take away from who you are. And I think that's one of the things that we struggle with a lot with, men and kings, is just understanding that allowing your queen to be her queen doesn't mean that you're any less of a king. So I would definitely say, like, there was a lot of them that La Bruja said, so I won't repeat them because that was kind of like the same thing. But I think it's just having that mutual understanding and respect for, for your queen, or any queen, not just your queen, any queen. I think the way you treat any woman is at least the foundation of how you will treat your woman. So, yeah.
That was fire. Oh, we Rod, that was a question to us as well. I'm still confused about that though. Okay, that was just to them.
I was giving it to them.
Dope.
That was to the queens. It was their
that was
turn.
so fire.
We did it last week.
Yeah. That's why I was like, hold on, wait. Why
what we doing?
okay. Yeah. You know what? I want to take the
You
time
know
out.
you don't want to follow
No, I
that
don't.
anyway.
That's why I was like, yo, please don't put me on that plank.
Everybody.
I want to say
We just need to learn.
we couldn't pick more perfect guests for this topic, especially after last week. And I think one of the beautiful things about it is, one thing I learned through this series was king, queen, right? The most important thing of both factions is to understand that we need us for a kingdom. And, I think one of the most powerful things is the reason why this was done the way it was. And a lot of people are like, yo, but why you got dudes talking about, queens and queens talking about kings? Why don't you have, it's because we needed to jack up the pool a little bit. We needed to touch the river waves a little bit more and dive deeper into what it looks like from the opposite sex and the opposite party. But one thing that I did learn through these two series, and we're gonna have to have more of these, is the fact that strength of a foundation is built by more than one type of party. And strength of a foundation is built by more than one type of faction. And I think at the end of the day, when we start to respect, and one of my biggest things is a real king respects his queen and knows that while she is holding down the foundation and the kingdom, that you're not out salivating off of some peasants just because they're making themselves available. Same for a queen. While a king is at home or he's working or whatever he's doing, and you're not salivating over some peasant just because he just happens to have some cute eyes or a cute smile or whatever. So I say all that to say we need us. We need us now more than any time. And I thank y'all for bringing that out. I thank y'all for highlighting that more than ever.
Yes.
I want to agree to that in my closing statement. Shout out to Shice, who was a previous guest before, even last week. Son came on in that call. We said at the end, bear in mind that it does make a difference when a preacher does something wrong, when a police officer with a license to kill, when a teacher, when these type of authorities do something wrong, it does make a difference. It's not just about this intellectual argument about is this right, is this wrong. It also depends who does it. We look up to certain people, and certain people are given more authority and responsibility. And when those people abuse their power, it makes a way bigger difference than anybody else. But again, to the crucialness of this episode, it took the sisters come in and show us that was us as men and women holding others accountable. Now, as kings and queens, I think what we're saying is a king and queen notices that they are that person now, right? So you
or they are accountable together,
or play a song, or say a word with the wrong energy that applies to, or just not know that somebody's the only one, but you're the host of the event, or you're the king in the area. Even if you're just walking down the block and you see people acting a certain way, when the king or queen is rolling through, it's not only about calling other people accountable now. I think what we say in this episode, it's about a king and queen notices when they might do a subtle thing that, yes, to you it doesn't matter, but to that trans person, to the gay person, to that person whose skin color is different in that group or that city or that culture, you are already looking out for people like that and knowing that it's your job. They're looking to you when the majority of people in the circle is trying to push them to the side, right? Because that's normalized. I think what a king and queen is going to do is say, and this isn't just in sexual relationships and romantic, I think in general, a king or queen is going to reach out and say, you are human, you are valued, you're not going to be bullied here, even by mistake. And even in men and women don't do the even by mistake part. And I know that I'm growing in my kingship because I know there's people who have seen me go, you know what? I didn't mean that, but I noticed it hit you that way. And I am going to work on that. And I'm sorry. And I don't want you to feel that way. And I take that on. I take that on if I made you feel that way.
Accountability.
Any last words, our queens?
No, thank you for having me. It was an honor and a pleasure. Much love, respect.
Thank you.
Love yourself.
Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much. And as all kings and queens rightfully do, right? I think what y'all did, you brought out the best in us.
Yes.
And I thank y'all for doing it.
Thank you.
Yes, and you know what? I mean, I also put in the description that this is a hashtag relationship goal conversation, man. Like, sound minds to that.
Sound minds.
Hashtag relationship goal conversations. Facts.
Play this with your significant other. Let them know you can talk about these things in your relationship.